This morning we shot off to do a bit of a parts run. We have been getting sort of slowed down with some of the work on the boats, getting some of the jobs are quite a bit bigger than we thought. Tanks being one of them. Tanks is just a nightmare of a job. I've so far taken I think 80 or 90 litres of basically dirt out of one tank, one of two tanks. I'm assuming the other one's going to be pretty similar. Our sand supplier is a mine that's actually gone underwater. We had a lot of rain recently and the mine itself actually flooded out, so we can't get any sand at the moment for our sandblaster. So we are trying a few other different techniques, so we're getting serious. I went to Bunnings and I bought some yellow rain jackets and pants and stuff like that, so I can start to get in there and get stuck in. I have been blasting in jeans and long shirts like this. So within 30 seconds of starting, I'm completely drenched. I just keep blasting to half an hour, 40 minutes in completely soaked clothes, and yeah, just put up with it. But yeah, we're getting serious. We're going to try a few other different techniques to see if we can get them clean without sand. We also have some plywood. These stacks of plywood here, they're actually for our bathroom. So if I come back, so this face here gets basically a piece of plywood put on it, so you can sort of see the lip all the way around. It basically gets sealant, like essentially glued onto that, much like what we did with the windows on the wheelhouse. So the wood is what have we used? 9mm hardwood marine ply. So we're going to 2-pack that, cut it out to fit, 2-pack it, and then we're going to bond that in. And then I've also got enough to do the door for the front here. So I'll show you what I'm doing. Oh, that's right, it's downstairs. So this is going to be the last component of the door. So basically the marine ply gets bonded to the bad face of this. So this has got one good face, one bad face. It's 25mm thick. So we're going to, yeah, so it'll be joined up. So what's that going to make it? 31mm thick door. And the reason we're doing the lamination of the two is the marine ply is actually going to overlap the door a little bit and become a seal. So I'm standing in the dry room, and the seal, the marine ply seal, is basically going to touch this surface all the way around, and with a rubber gasket is going to form essentially a steam type door. So this room will, by the design of this room, it will stop steam going out into the lounge. So that's the plan. Over the next week or two, Jess is going to slowly work on that when she has the energy, and yeah, we'll get that room done. G'day, it's a morning before my regular day job. I'm going to try and get this wall panel cut out before then. So basically it's a plywood panel that we're going to be putting on here, and it's glued to the edge. You can sort of see all the way around there's like a little edge going on. So yeah, that's going to be this morning's job. See if we can get it done before I start work. This is how I'm going to knock up the plywood wall. So I've built basically a template that shows me the top and bottom measurements. So it's not absolutely perfect. I realise I made a slight mistake when I built it, but it sits up there. You can sort of see that, and then I'm just going to draw a line either side to get the exact measurement that I need. And then remembering that this is going to be glued in, so I want to have like a 5mm gap all the way around, just so that I can allow a little bit of flex. And it'll be same deal at the bottom. So let's get this drawn up onto the ply and cut out. Right, so that's the wall. Basically that's the panel. It's not glued in, it's just obviously held by a couple of clamps. What we're going to do, across this top section here and then all the way down that beam, right the way down to the floor, we're going to put like a face of plywood on that whole thing, and then we're going to fair the corner, so it's basically, we're going to glue them together and fair the corner so it's really beautiful and rounded. But to protect from any rot and any grime and all that sort of nonsense, we're going to 2-pack. We're going to take the panels off. We're going to 2-pack basically all of this side, like all the way around. Same deal on the plywood that we're going to make up the top here. We're going to 2-pack the back of it, so there's no way rot and anything can get in. We're going to make sure all the edges are really sealed up, and then we're going to stick them on here and then start fairing them in. So the plan is, if you imagine that's a sheet of ply, the edge is going to go that way around, and then it'll be glued wherever that joint is up there, and then this corner will be rounded off. So it should look pretty lovely when we're finished. Yeah, now we're just going to go and make this front piece. So this is our ply board that we're going to be sticking on the wall of the bathroom. So we've chucked. So this is the side that faces the bathroom. So this is what you'll see internally. So we've put 2 or 3 coats of fairly watered down primer on it so far. So it should have hopefully seeped into the wood quite a bit. So we're probably going to do at least another 1 or maybe 2 coats of like an undercoat, so it's really sealed up well. We've done all the edges and stuff as well, yeah, so we're going to go through now with 240 grit and just give it a really good sand, because I basically want to get this to be like incredibly smooth and lovely when we're finished. So I'm going to just sand it with 240 in between all of the coats just to make sure we can get it as nice as possible. And then the last coat I'm thinking of actually spraying, so I get a really beautiful gloss finish on it. But yeah, we'll see how we go. See how we go with the sanding and how it all turns up. So let's get into sanding it this morning. So this was a first sand of the board, so I don't know if you can see the shine in it, but it's, yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. It's come out pretty good. So we've obviously gone through to wood in a couple of spots because it's only had basically essentially one coat of primer on it so far. But I'll chuck on, so the first coat was thinned down 50%, so it was like painting water, which was cool. I wanted it to soak into the wood, so it's done that pretty well. So now I'm going to start putting on slightly thicker coats, so I think we'll probably thin the next one down maybe 10%, something like that, yeah, roll that out, and then the coats will get progressively thicker and thicker, so I can start sanding, because you still get, I don't know if you can see it, but you sort of see the wood grain quite clear. Like obviously there's low spots and things like that. I want to fill those up, so the next few layers will be, as I say, progressively thicker, so we can start getting those low spots filled up, and then the high spots will keep sanding off until we've got a really beautiful flat board. Last update, we were getting stuck into the plywood for the bathroom behind me. Still a few bits of ply stacked up there. However, I'll show you this. We've got, this is the wall, not the door side, this is the wall side. And this green, disgusting coloured paint you see is actually the primer, the 2-pack primer. So we're well on our way to getting that wall ready to go up onto the bathroom wall there. We've also figured out how we're going to be doing the seal for the door. We actually changed our design slightly, so we're going to do an overlapping ply sort of door that has a rubber seal behind it. But you see on the ground here, I've got these links of steel here. It's this stuff. It's square stainless solid box. And what we're doing, I'll show you this. So this is obviously the dry room that I'm in here. You can sort of see the little roof piece and everything. We're going to weld this stainless bar is going to be welded onto the edge of that like that. So you can sort of see where it's sitting right on that corner. It'll be flush with this surface here will be completely flush, and the door will actually seal. Actually, I'll show you. I've built some seals like this on the side door, so let me just show you those so you understand them. So you can see this is the side door, and you can see here there's a 10mm by 10mm piece of steel welded in, and it provides basically a hard stop. So you put the rubber up on this face here, and then the door sort of shuts into that and jams up against that. It sounds awkward, but it's a really simple way of basically doing a seal. So that's the plan. So this weekend we're going to get that stainless welded in, and then yeah, the door will be built to suit that. So it'll be really easy to keep that room nice and dry. So then following on from that, so these bits of 100 by 6mm flat bar, and then that piece of that round piece of Schedule 40 pipe you can see there, that's going to become the lip that the watertight door between the freezer room and the bulkhead and the engine bay, that's going to be the lip that the door seals up on. So we're going to cut that piece of pipe. It's going to be cut in quarters, like cuts. Sorry, I'll bring it over here. This piece of pipe will be cut basically that way, so each line will be sliced down at there. So we'll use the 90 degrees of it will become a corner of the watertight door. So if you imagine, there'll be a quarter of this in all four corners of the door. That's how we're going to get our radius. I don't have any way of bending anything that thick on the boat, so that's how we're going to do a nice even radius, is use something that's already got it. Hey guys, how you doing? So this morning we are welding in some strips of stainless steel around the door on this bathroom door here. These are the bits of stainless, so you can sort of see that. So as I mentioned, they're basically box section. I've rounded off the corners so they fit. All the corners are basically shaped to suit wherever they're going in particular. For example, this one here goes up like that, and you can sort of see it fits in there nice and neat. So we'll get all of those in. I've got to flapper off quite a bit of the paint that I've put on so that I can weld these properly. Stainless seems to be particular, I'm sure the welders can tell me why, but stainless seems to be particularly temperamental to any sort of impurities and so on in the weld. If you leave any rust or any paint or anything like that, it seems to have a bit of a hissy fit when you're welding mild to stainless. So we're going to go through and clean all of that up, and get these seals in, and that'll allow us to put the door, fit the door, cut it to size and everything, and put the door on the bathroom. So I've welded one side in pretty much fully. I'm not doing a continuous weld all the way down because it's only steam. I don't need to do a fully watertight seal or anything. I'm just going to basically make sure that this is nice and tight, and then I'm going to run a bead of sealant just inside and outside just to seal that right up. There's a radius in here, so there's a bit of a dimple for it to go in. It's warped a little bit as I expected it would probably warp, but not enough that it should be an issue. And I should pretty much be able to straighten that out pretty easily. I'll just wait till it's cold and I'll just tap it back round, but it should easily straighten out. It's only warped a fraction, maybe 1/2 mil or something like that. So now I'll just get this one all lined up and weld this side in. And that'll do for that. Okay, so I've gone around basically welded the whole thing in, and then because I'm putting plywood over all of this, you won't see any of this, so I needed to make sure the welds didn't stick up above the surface. So because there was a dimple, the welds have gone down into that. It's essentially been V'd out, if that makes sense. So the welds have gone down into that dimple, and then I've flattened the tops of them off. They were pretty flat to start with, but just flattened them off right off. Gone round, there was a little bit of warping. I've just taken that out with the large adjustment stick, but it's all pretty sweet. The seals are going to work fine. It'll be no worries with the seals. They'll easily, there's like I don't know, maybe 1/4 mil or 1/2 mil of wobble every now and again, but we're going to be putting like 5 mil of rubber in there, so it's going to be irrelevant. Yeah, cool, I'm happy with that. I think that's going to work fine. Sweet. Just saw this beast coming in the harbour. No idea what that is, probably like a patrol boat or something, but pretty mean looking beast. I'm guessing that's one of the Australian Border Patrol type boats.
Wow.
Bit of a beast, eh?
Wow. Look at radar. No.
Yeah.
Couple
Couple of patrol boats at the back with those little ribs. So I need to hang the door in the bathroom. So I made this is my actual door. So the hinges and everything are all screwed onto this at the same height that we're going to do the main door. So now I just need to figure out exactly where I'm going to put them and everything. So I'll clamp them in here, and I'm thinking of actually just welding them on, because I'll show you why. These hinges actually, oh, where are we? That way. So the door does that, lifts up and off these hinges. So that's why I'm thinking just weld them in, weld this side to the wall, and this side here will be on the door. The door can just lift up and over like that. Keep it nice and simple. Don't see why it will fail, because they're pretty strong hinges. They're pretty butty 316 stainless hinges. So give it a go, see if that's going to work. So my hinges are all welded in. So that's basically wherever the hole was to put the screw or the bolt or whatever you needed to use. I've just put in a fairly chunky high temp weld, so hopefully that'll hold. I'm just sort of thinking that if I have any jip, if this isn't strong enough in any way, if it starts to come loose or anything like that, I'm thinking of basically I'll just run a smaller weld top and bottom, which I'm pretty sure will be fine. But yeah, for now I'm just going to leave it like that and sort of see how we go. Makes it easy to get them off if I ever need to. Bit hard to show you the whole thing fitting up, but this is my jig. It should fit. I don't see any reason why it won't work. On you go. There we go, done, perfect. Like I bought one. So that's going to be our door hinging point there. And then what I'm going to do, so the door itself is 25 mil thick, and then I've got a 6 mil skin that goes on the outside, and that's so that it's flush with all of the skin that's going to be on the outside of these steel beams and so on. Because when you're sitting in the lounge looking at the door, I want the door to be basically like the two surfaces to be perfectly level. So I don't want there to be any offset or anything like that. So in order to accomplish that, I need to actually router basically a slot all the way around the main 25 mil thick plywood. But what I'm going to do is glue the 6 mil onto the 25 mil, so I end up with a 31 mil thick door, and I then have to chop in what have we got, 15. I have to chop in 16 mil then, and then plus 18 mil, so 31 mil. I'll go down 18 mil, and then I'll have whatever's left. Somebody else is better at maths than me, they can work that out. Yeah, so that'll be the edge that's sealing, and it'll all be part of the solid 25 mil block of wood. So it should be reasonably strong, I'm thinking, and yeah, it should. It's closing up onto closed cell foam, so it's not like super strenuous for it or anything like that. But yeah, let's get this door cut out and get it fitted. So I've got my hinges and everything in. I'm now just making a template. So I've got this big piece of plywood here is going to eventually be my door, but I'm just going to make a template to cut the door to. So just got a whole bunch of scraps I'm going to just screw together to get the shape that I need, and then I'll be able to cut it out knowing I'm not going to screw it up. So yeah, get that made. So you've got the template sitting on the board, and I've sort of lined it up down this edge, roughly where it needs to be sitting. However, you can see here I've said go out 8mm from this edge. So basically I'll measure from this edge here out to here, make sure it's 8mm out. That way I know that this door, when it's cut, is going to be exactly where it needs to be. And likewise here, come down 1mm from this edge here. So you've got to go through and do it with a fine pencil, and like there's another one, so up 2, out 2, and then here it's obviously cut with a bit of an angle, so it's right there but it's wrong here, so I need to go out quite a bit, so 6mm there, and then the bottom is where it needs to be, so there's no marks on the bottom there. So it's a real easy way of basically getting the door to be like millimetre precise, or like a panel of steel or whatever it is that you're trying to cut. But you've got to use a really fine pencil just to make sure that your lines are like really crystal clear. So the door's all cut out and everything. I've given it a sand with 40 grit just to, because I don't want to get splinters more than anything else while I'm holding it and carrying it around, so it's relatively smoothish for now. But I can't carry on anymore until I've got a router, because I need to trim basically a track all the way around the edge so it'll sit in the new stainless seal. So I'll head into town tonight and get that. We're about 30 minutes away from town, so it always knocks an hour and a half out of a work day if I have to go and get anything, so I try and leave it till the end of the day when I can't do anything on the boat anyway. So anyway, we'll move on, do a different job. So this is the wall that goes on the bathroom. This is the green side that I'm sanding now. This is the bathroom side, not the lounge side. So I'm just going to go over and give it a sand with 120 and then try and skim it down to 240, and then I'll start putting the top coat on top of this. So let's go and get this thing sanded. So I've done a 40 grit sand, an 80 grit sand, and now I've got 120. So I'm going to give that a shot because it's come up pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. Like it's pretty smooth. There's definitely no like splinters or anything on it, but wee bit of sort of ripples I can feel very slightly, but it's not going to matter because it's not a glossy surface or anything like that. It just has to be like basically really smooth and really like a fine finish, so water doesn't sort of go into the grain or anything. It has to be real sealed up well. So yeah, going to give it a 120 grit sand and yeah, see how that comes up like. I have to make a recess. I got to router a recess into the door to fit the new stainless seal that I've welded in. I've never done routing in my life. I don't have a lot of woodworking experience. So I bought a router yesterday and I'm going to have a go at, I just got a piece of offcut here. I'm just going to have a go at knocking up the shape that I need. So if I destroy it, it's all good. I'm not trying it on the door first up.
Slipping on his jeans and put his t-shirt on. Needs to look good for the big man.
Okay, I think I figured out how to do it. So the first cut I did, there's probably woodworkers on here that are going to tell me how to do it and how not to do it, but the first cut I did the full depth in and the full depth down. It just started like ripping into it, thinking plywood's probably not that hard or whatever, but it started to burn the inner laminates. So I backed off, came the same depth but halfway out, and just went along, and it still did the same thing, just started to burn them. You can see the, I don't know if you can quite see it on the camera there. I'll bring it up and I'll show you. But then I backed right off and did half depth, half width, did a strip across, and then went into full depth, full width, and carried on through, and it's come up with a really beautiful clean. So I think I'll need to do 2 cuts, like two goes at it on this particular wood. So yeah, cool. I'll get into it and start routing this door out.
So you gotta know really, swallow his pride and conform to the rest, or be one in a million on a similar test. Introvert, yeah, sticking out, just not used to the crowd. Mind or heart, no idea where to start. Put it on her front, pushing the directions.
First cut at doing a route I've ever done in my life. Reckon it turned up okay. Good enough for what we need. Bit hard to see with all the dust and junk over it, but I'm going to give this a quick sand up because there's still a couple of little rough furry edges and stuff. Like there where it's obviously, I don't know, cut through a grain a bit funny or something. So I'll give that all a clean up with some sandpaper and get that nice and smooth. So that's going to form the basis for our seal. So this whole door is going to be 2-packed, this edge will all be 2-packed and everything. And then the rubber is going to be sealing up on this edge, this face here, against the stainless. I think I've got a piece. So this is a piece of stainless offcut that goes up in the wall, like about there somewhere. So that's how the seal actually sits. So that's what you'll see on the door when you close the door and you're on the bathroom side. That's what you'll actually see, is of just a piece of stainless neat up against the wall like that, sealed up with rubber between the stainless and the wood.
Find him resting in a terrorizing peace. Veins popped, clenching his teeth. Oh, you better do as you plead. Life's a race, get off your seat. Clock's ticking, no second repeat. Sweat's dripping, future is bleak. So grab a light and give the sunrise a sneak.
So I've got the door all mounted up, sitting on its hinges. It's all working sweet. Really happy with it all. There's a slight twist in either the frame or the ply. I'm not 100% sure, but it's up the top here is not a perfect. Modify something to figure how to straighten that out. I don't know what I'm going to modify yet, but it'll be one of the well, it won't be the frame. It'll be the plywood. But right now, I am putting a handle on this side of the door. I'll go and open one up and I'll show you it's the same as the one that's going on the outside of the door. So just grab it. So they're quite low profile. So they're, if you imagine a flat thing there, they're fairly thin. They look quite nice and quite sort of sleek. But I wanted to use handles that were as close to the wall as possible, because it allows me to open the door without them hitting anything. So that's what we're using those. So right now I'm just figuring out how to do the mounting of the handles. So this is the door all sitting in there as it's supposed to. I need to put a skin of plywood, 6mm ply on top of what you're looking at there. So that's why it's not finished or not sanded, and that's why I've got marks, drawn all over it and stuff. I'm not really worried. However, this edge here doesn't quite line up, so it's, I don't know, 3mm gap there, but it gets progressively less and less and less until it's borderline touching maybe, I don't know, a millimetre gap sort of down at the bottom. So I've got to just relieve a bit of that off, and then also inside here you can see the handle on the door. It's quite a thin handle, but if you see, so you can see that the structure of the wall there, you've got basically a beam there. That handle clears that beam and allows that door to go right over hard up against the wall, so you can sort of see there's heaps of fits in there well. So basically I've done that on purpose so that I can essentially get that door as open as possible, so that there's as much room as possible when you walk in here. Alright, so I've got my door all fitting. I need to put, it's a 25mm piece of ply. I need to put a skin of 6mm marine ply on the outside of it, so that it all lines up flush with the panels that we're making for the rest of that wall and everything. I don't want there to be a disparity between the door and the wall. So I'm just working at about 30 knots. I'm just working what the skin is going to be out now, and then we'll get that laminated onto the door. So let's get into it. Yeah, so I have I've cut the door to 25mm. I've cut the 6mm panel to suit. Because this beam has had a weld halfway along, there's a slight warp and so on in it, and for those that have pointed out that I should know how to get rid of warps, consider me a half-year apprentice. I don't necessarily know. So anyway, this beam has a very slight bend in it. So I'm taking account of it with this plywood Because I have to laminate the two together, I'm going to basically glue them in a ever so slight bend, so you'll never actually see it visually, but it'll essentially mean that the whole thing will line up perfectly with all the panels that are going on here. So what I'm going to do is just put a couple of screws, 4 screws holding this front panel onto the door. This is a piece of 6mm marine ply that you're looking at, so I'm going to screw it to the 25mm ply that's behind it, and then that'll all be glued, and then I'm going to bend the ply ever so slightly forward with these clamps, so that it aligns up perfectly on the seals, and then just let it to dry like that, and it should dry in a it's about probably a 2 or a 3mm curve overall, so you're not talking massive amounts, but yeah, I'm hoping that the glue will bend it into that level. So yeah, just get it all glued up and see how we go. Alright, so time to glue. I'm using PVA glue, so let's give this a shot at the title. I'm sure there's a professional way of doing this. I'm not a professional. I don't know that way. Okay, cool. So we have, what have we got? That side's all screwed in and laminated up. This side here is clamped in. The skin is loose because I've made a bigger jig, so there's no way the skin's actually being touched by the clamp. So the clamp's actually pulling the back in rather than the front in, that way, if it makes sense. Pulling the back forward rather than the front back. That one could be a bit better. Alright, let's make it better. I need to make a bigger jig. There we have it. So yeah, skin's all screwed and glued, and yeah, just wait for that to harden up. Hopefully it hardens up with the curve that I've screwed into it. So you can see here the little spaces and a block of steel on there, they hold it out from the actual piece of ply. So if I come up real close, you can see that ply there. So this layer, I can't even see my finger in there, that layer there is 6mm. That one there is 6mm, and it sits on top of the door, and then this bit here is, I don't know, ½ inch or a bit over ½ inch or something. So that's why there's a bit of an air gap there, is I didn't want the clamps to be touching this skin here at all. So you can sort of see it all the way down here. This surface here is flush with the surface of the door. So by adding this, I've basically moved the surface of the door out 6mm, because we're going to having a strip of 6mm ply or 1/4 inch ply all the way down this steel covering it up. So that will end up making the door, see if I've got a bit, it'll sit like that, and it'll basically make it yeah, essentially be flush. Can't really get it looking pretty by hand, but that's how our join's going to look when we're finished.